let's transition to Colorado. Colorado was cool. We were talking about the kind of the era of starter jackets. Amal, you remember with Bill McCartney, a Michigan guy, he had Eric Bieniemy was in the news yesterday. Eric Bieniemy, Bill McCartney set up a pipeline from Colorado, from Boulder to Los Angeles. And I think he had a deal with some sort of private jet. There was a lot going on with what McCartney was doing there. Good dude, great coach. But he got talent from Los Angeles to go to Colorado. And they popped 1990 to the national championship. And then after that, you had Neuheisel, who I know you know, great guy, didn't do a good job at Colorado. Gary Barnett popped a little bit from Northwestern, but it went downhill. Dan, what was his name? Hawkins. Dan Hawkins.
It's the Big 12.
It's the Big 12. I thought Dan Hawkins, coming from Boise, I thought the Colorado job was going to be a great opportunity for him. He was a disaster. Mike McIntyre, and then Carl Durrell, I don't even know if I'm saying it correctly. Remember UCLA, he did a terrible job. Colorado, that was the most befuddling hire. Maybe Mike Riley at Nebraska, but Durrell getting another job was absolutely fascinating, and he took the program and continued to drive it into the ground. 1-11 for Colorado last year, 1-8 in conference play. They haven't won more than 5 games since 2016. So in comes Deion Sanders. He came in, he cleaned house, he made sure the cleaning of the house was on social media. A couple important things here. Deion brought in Sean Lewis as his offensive coordinator. Interesting move because he was at Kent State as the head coach, but he runs, Amal Shah, one of the fastest attacks in college football. He's going to have this offense clicking. It's going to be boom, boom, boom. Time of possession doesn't matter. It's just constantly keeping the defense on their heels. And Shedeur Sanders, obviously the coach's son, 2 years at Jackson State, over 7,000 yards and 40 touchdowns through the air. So that's where we'll start with Colorado. If you want to back up and go through the history, feel free. You've got a total set at DraftKings at 3.5. If you want to bet the under, you lay $1.35 to win $1.
Yeah, it's tricky when you look at the schedule in terms of wins, but let's start in the backfield. You mentioned Shedeur Sanders. Based on what we've heard talent-wise, this guy looks like he's going to be a pretty good football player, so it's a great position to start at quarterback, having someone who's ultra-talented. But then Alton McCaskill, the Houston transfer, remember, he had the knee injury last year, missed the 2022 season for Dana Holgerson there down with the Cougars. I think he's a very good running back and a good piece for them to get started with. And bring in Jimmy Horn at the wide receiver position, a transfer along with Xavier Weaver. And then the big name, Travis Hunter. Remember, he was the #1 recruit a couple of years ago, expected to go to Florida State. I think they've got some pretty good pieces at the skill position. The question for me is, can they find consistency within this program? Last year, 1-11, dead last in college football in the Division I, giving up 44.5 points per game. I mean, they were 3 points worse than the nearest competitor in that market. And then you look on the offensive side of the ball, Patrick, only scoring 15 points per game, 127th out of 131 teams. So nowhere to go but up for this team. The one thing you have to give Deion Sanders a ton of credit for, he has interjected a life and an enthusiasm into this program that has been dormant for 2 decades. When was the last time we talked about CU? Probably talked about the time when Nebraska got walloped by the Buffaloes, and then Nebraska got to play Miami for the national championship in Oregon. That's probably the last time I can recall Colorado being a team in genuine conversation. It felt like they've been struggling for so long. You look at this team returning starters, barely anybody. I mean, they've got about a combined 4 starters on both sides of the ball. This team is going to be one that's very difficult to quantify from my perspective because you've got so many transfer pieces. I'm not sure what to make of it, but I'm going to tell you, you said it. Sean Lewis might end up, we've talked about Phil Longo. You mentioned Satterfield going to Nebraska. Sean Lewis might be the best offensive coordinator hire, including Garrett Riley at Clemson, in college football. I think he can make that much of a difference with this offense that was absolutely anemic last year.
The branding, and the operative word in 2023, Dustin Swedelson, is branding and brand extension. There isn't a human being on the planet better at branding than Deion Sanders. The only question is what took these archaic athletic directors and universities so long to hire the guy. If you're a university and a program in need of a kick in the ass, Here's what Deion's going to do. Deion's going to be there for 3 years, and he's going to bail for a better job. But what he's going to do, Amal, he's going to revitalize the program. And then Sean Lewis will take over, and Sean Lewis will continue to win football games at Colorado. The idea that it took this long for Deion Sanders, I don't care if he knows nothing about football. That's not what I'm talking about. What he does is he connects with kids, new age kids, in a way that will get kids to come to Colorado and Boulder. What happens? That begats other kids in the next generation to come to Boulder. The idea that it took this long is freaking ridiculous. He did great at Jackson State. He's going to do great here. My assumption is he probably gets to 4 just by cult of personality. He is that dude. The team isn't very good. They do have Travis Hunter, who's going to be a two-way player, who's by far and away the best player on this team and a pro already. Dustin Swedelson, the Deion Sanders hire is a home run and a no-brainer.
Probably the most fun athlete we had growing up was Deion Sanders. I mean, prime time was it.
Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders right there. That's it.
And I mean, I had Deion Sanders shoes. I begged my parents for weeks to get them for me. Here's the thing with Deion, though. It's a bit of an uphill battle, not just because of what Colorado's been through, but where he's coming from. This isn't the SWAC anymore. And at Jackson State, he had a major advantage because, one, credit to him, he was putting his own resources into the program. We're talking financially. Like, they were ahead of a lot of the other schools that they were playing. They had more players coming in that were bigger recruits that shouldn't have even been playing in the SWAC because of Deion. Things are going to even out a little bit here with that competitive advantage. The thing I like about Deion is he's the CEO. He doesn't think that he's going to get boggled up by all the minutia of trying to be super involved with one position group or the other. He hired a great offensive coordinator, as you guys mentioned in Lewis. He hired Charles Kelly, who spent 3 years working under Nick Saban at Alabama, and he said, I'm going to give them the best talent possible in this situation. This could go really well. This could go really poorly. Deion Sanders is in a unique spot in that no one's going to judge him if it goes badly this year, but we're all going to be really excited if things somehow come together. He brought in so many big-time transfers from across the country that want to play for him. And here's the thing. If it works out this year, let's say they win 5 or 6 games somehow, next year's going to be insanity for the Colorado Buffaloes.
Well, guys, think about this. They're playing TCU. Fox's big noon show is going to be in Fort Worth. And it's not because the Horned Frogs got beat by 3 million in the national championship game. It's because of Deion. One other thing to remember with Deion, he's one of the few athletes who's our generation, Patrick, that the younger guys still know because of his dual sport. All the parents, everybody revered Deion Sanders. You don't have to be a Deion Sanders fan, but everybody respected what he was as a football player and a baseball player. And one other thing to remember when he was a football player that doesn't get enough credit, he was a film junkie. Trust me when I tell you, just based on the way he's assembling this program at Colorado, there is going to be a discipline to it that is eventually going to be successful long-term. I don't know if he's going to be great. I think he's on the way to potentially being there, but I don't think this program I think in 3 years, this program is going to be competing in the Big 12 for a championship. That's what I think he brings to the table.
The only way I'll disagree with you two is I don't think this is a step up for him. If Colorado loses every game this year, he'll market and turn winning no games into something. I swear, when I tell you that he just turns negatives into positives and says, you say this, okay, I'll say this, that this is what he's been doing his whole entire life. When, you know, he was taking a helicopter to play baseball and football in the same day, like he just does the improbable and he makes people believe. It's a hire to rejuvenate. This is not a long-term project for Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is not interested in Boulder, Colorado. He is going to inject this university and program with life, Dustin. That's it.
It comes down to one thing, depth. And for fun alone, I would like to go over the 3.5 at plus 115.
Let's come back.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch it, but there's no way I'd go under, just in case lightning in a bottle, right?
Washington State, Colorado State, and watch out Nebraska.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.